Hello, YouTube community. I don't know if anyone will see this because I've done it as a surprise, which is another way to say random, which is another way to say I haven't made a video in a while. So I thought I will do a live stream to say hi and to see what's up, because what's up with me is I have one more week in the US until I am in the UK. And I'm absolutely exhausted. We have had an amazing adventure. We have not stopped. I'm the kind of person who really needs 2 solid days off for every day on. We've had no days off. We've just had days of walking 42 miles around New York City, which has been very fun. I'm not complaining, but I'm very tired. And I'm in my very small hotel room, and I have a ton of video ideas, but when I'm traveling, it's really hard to make videos and to make them quality, as you may have seen by some of my most recent videos where they're not quite up to what I would normally do. Like right now, I have no other option besides this blank wall behind me in my hotel room as my background. So, but I thought I would come on and say hi, how you doing? And see if anybody has any questions. So I have a couple questions that I will start out with. You can see my suitcase right here, how to buy new luggage, because our bags broke somewhere in Long Beach, California. And the wheels were literally they were melting off kind of. So they kind of broke to the point that they didn't work. And then all we could do was drag it along the ground. And then it was just basically completely dead. My husband has gone out to find some fruit for his smoothies in the morning. And I brought oatmeal with me, but I don't really want it because it just seems depressing having a bowl of oatmeal in this hotel room in the morning. So I'm skipping breakfast, waiting for the New York City bagel. Anyway, so the question that I've been getting a ton, anyway, say hi if you're here too, because I know this is a surprise. So I'm talking to myself unless someone says hi. So people have asked me, am I moving to America? Because I've been in America since August 9th, which is the longest that I've been in America since I moved to the UK 10 years ago. No, I'm not moving to America right now. We have a flight booked to the UK on December 9th. And that my husband is on a tourist visa in the US and he's almost done his 90 days. So we are definitely not moving to America right now. Andy says, have travel regulations changed for traveling back to the UK? Yes, they have. So before we would have had to book a rapid test for our day 2 when we got back. And now we have to book a PCR test. But otherwise, it's the same. If you're fully vaccinated, you have to test on day 2. When we get back because we are fully vaccinated. So a little bit more expensive, but not necessarily a huge issue. And obviously we will isolate in our house and make sure that we test negative before going out into the UK. Hello, Matthew, Duncan, Paul, Kristen, Stephen. Hello from New York City. I'm also going to do a whole video about this. So you guys are getting just a sneak preview because I'm going to do a whole production value thing. New York City is great, but there's so many things that London does better, which really is nice to give London its shout out. So number 1, public transportation. The New York subway is good. It will get you around, but the signs are very difficult for a tourist to understand. The London Underground has the best maps and signs, award-winning tube map. Love that about London. New York, I find it very hard by myself to figure out where I'm going. It's not always clear. It just has a bunch of letters and numbers and you're I don't know if I'm on the right platform. Whereas in London, you always know if you're on the right platform, even if you're brand new to the city. Another thing London has going for it that I've discovered after spending some time in New York City is safety. I've always felt incredibly safe in London. And I always tell future visitors and other London, I feel super safe. But I didn't realize I haven't spent that much time in the US since I graduated college. over 10 years ago now, or well, almost 10 years ago. And American cities definitely have a little bit more sketchiness going on. So we were in Boston, and Boston felt very similar to how safe London feels. But New York, it definitely feels a whole lot sketchier. I'm not going to go into it on the live stream. Like, there's so many different reasons. But in London, you just feel like as a single person, I can just like take the tube by myself at 11 at night. Whereas in New York, I kind of feel like doing that would lead me probably nothing would happen, but it just feels a lot more unsafe. And even just walking around the streets of London London is so much cleaner. So yeah, I can't wait to spend some more time, more and more time in London and really appreciate those differences now that I've spent some time in New York. Someone asked, can I sing a song? Maybe by the end of this live stream. Stay tuned. So if you're watching live, comment and let me know. Like, I would be interested in knowing where people have been in America, if you have been to America. So yeah, leave in the comments just like places that you've liked, not liked in America. Do you still get shouted at if you don't walk on the right-hand side of the sidewalk or crosswalk? I haven't been shouted at for walking on the wrong side, but I have been yelled at multiple times for like doing nothing in particular, just like being in someone's way. That's another thing. New Yorkers are aggressive. They're so aggressive. Like, compared to the UK, you guys, I'm like, I've gotten used to the UK way of life where you don't, like, no one's like yelling at you on the street. Everyone is just like doing their thing. It's relatively quiet. It's calm. Like, you don't get that many crazies. New York is full of just angry, regular people and crazies. So yeah, I definitely got like cursed out on the subway because I was like standing in the wrong place. I didn't even realize it. My husband said later, he was like, oh, you didn't even react to that woman. I was like, I literally just block everything out. So I didn't even know. But yeah, they seem to kind of yell about everything, and they love to honk. New York City honking is like a favorite pastime. I'm like, why are we honking at nothing? They'll just honk to honk. Like, they're not even honking because someone's done something wrong. They're just like honking because there's traffic, and then they just like honk at each other for no reason. Someone says, greetings from Glasgow, Scotland. Hello. I cannot wait to spend more time in Scotland when we get back to the UK. We're debating when to book our annual trip to Crieff, which is in Perthshire. Love it. Have you ever got food poisoned by eating street food? America doesn't really we have like street food, but it's not really dangerous to eat it in terms of like your gut. So I haven't really experienced that. I mean, maybe if you go to like a sketchy, like New York hot dog stand, but they're mostly fine. I've never been to the US, although half your family is in Wisconsin. That's a random place for half your family to be. I have been to Wisconsin. I've been to Madison, and would like to go back. Someone says, oh, David, you've only been in the US on 2-day trips. Right. Okay. But you were holidaying in Canada. That makes sense. We have actually realized how close. So typically my family's from Orlando. So it's like an 9 to 10 hour flight, depending on like the jet stream. Is that what it's called? To New York, though, it's only like 5 or 6 hours, which is really close. I know it might not seem close, but in America, it literally takes 6 hours to go from Orlando to LA, and you're in the same country. So like 5 or 6 hours to New York from London, it's a lot closer than you think. Andrew says, most of London is reasonably safe, but there are times and places I would avoid walking along. Yes, and I'm definitely talking more like central London as well, because I've lived in zone 3, maybe. I lived in East Acton for a while. I don't remember which zone that is in, but definitely, yeah, like central London feels really safe to me. The center of New York, the crazies are still there. Let's see. David said, okay. So also, speaking of, are there anyone who has tips on going to Canada? Because now that we've spent a lot of time in the U.S., the U.S. is great, but there are a lot of problems with it. And I think Canada might be the ultimate country where they just combine the best of all worlds. And I feel like we should go to Canada. I have a friend who is a German expat and now lives in London. She went back to Germany for a while and immediately got shouted at for walking her dog on the wrong side of the pavement. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that hasn't happened to me, but I can imagine it. Yes, we all regards from North Hampshire. So also people have asked me, like, do I miss the UK? They've asked me, am I moving to America? No, not right now. Do I miss the UK? So I'm going to be completely honest. Right now, with the time of year, I don't miss the UK in terms of like the weather. This is a particularly difficult time for me in the UK, like end of October to basically the middle of December, like run up to Christmas, because the light is dropping and it's getting cold and kind of that seasonal depression can kind of start to sink in. So if we were abroad and it was like a UK summer, then I would be missing the weather. I'm glad to have escaped it a little bit this year, and be back in time for like the run up to Christmas. No idea what Christmas will look like this year. But we do get more hours of sunlight per day, because actually people don't realize like how north the UK is compared to the US. So even in like Boston, which was the furthest north in the US that we've gone, they get like an extra hour of sunlight per day than the UK is right now. So, and also I've been in the UK for like, I've only taken short trips away for the past like 10 years. So I've enjoyed being in America. I'm not like desperately missing the UK, but I'm desperately missing my bed. And I know that better weather for the UK is around the corner. So excited for Christmas and to see people that we haven't seen in a while. And also, yeah, I am excited for it to be like quieter. Americans are very loud. I say this in like every video, but they definitely are. Have you noticed any major differences in how kids are raised? Yes, I have. I'm too exhausted right now to really get into it, but it's definitely an idea I have for a video to talk about, like the childhood experiences in both countries. I would say British children are probably much more well-behaved and cute. American kids are kind of loud, as we are in America. But there are differences in like what parents prioritize and like hobbies and stuff. Quite a few. Someone said something about, okay, Duncan says that his American family came over to the UK for a funeral and were confused by semi-detached houses, asking, why do you live in half a house? Yes. Not so much like in the city. So in New York, obviously, if you live in Manhattan, you're either living in an apartment flat or you're living in basically a terraced house. They're really nice, but it's going to be like a terraced house. But for the most part, in suburban US, the idea of terraced houses don't exist. So that would technically be called a townhouse. And it's really seen as like a young person's thing, like a stepping stone to a real house. And that's just because we have so much more space. It's not because one is better than the other, though I do like having more space, but it's just because America is vast. So definitely the idea of like sharing walls with people seems like something that in the US, you're either living right in the heart of a major city or you're like really, really on the beginning of like your housing ladder experience. And you want to get out as quickly as possible. Whereas in the UK, people can live in a terraced or semi-detached house their entire life at any age. So yeah, I always joke with my husband, like in the UK, we call them detached houses, like having your own four walls. And in the US, like I would just call that a house. So we joke about that. Hi from the original Boston. Yes, Boston was very interesting learning. Boston was a hilarious combination of, it was like they got a chance to like redo London and then like just redo it years later in America. So like they had a leg up on it looks more Dickensian than the actual London, as my husband puts it. Like, it feels as if you're walking into like a strange like Disneyland of the UK. It's a really bizarre experience. The roads are not gridded, so it's very similar to the UK roads. You've got like the cobblestones. It just all looks very English, but it also has that like American shine to it because it was so many years later. But Boston was really, really fun. I remember visiting York in the UK, and you could hear the Americans at the other end of the street. It's like they're all deaf and have to shout. Yes. Why does everyone yell? I'm not a loud person, though I seem like a loud person in the UK because I'm like a not loud person for America. Oh my gosh. Like everywhere we go, people are just like blasting their conversations. I don't know if people do this in the UK. I don't think so because that would be like shameful. People are really into like FaceTiming from random, like FaceTiming with no headphones, like next to you in an airport, and you're hearing their entire conversation, which I love at some points as somebody who's very nosy and likes to like read people's messages or hear what they're talking about. But oh my gosh, everyone, just like keep it to yourselves. Have you traveled on Amtrak services? Yes, we took an Amtrak to New York from Boston. Yeah, from Boston, which took 4 hours and was not a bad experience. So the US doesn't have great train transportation. It's definitely kind of seen as like a weird way to travel here, except in the Northeast, which was originally European colonies, much more popular, and the Northeast is a lot more well connected. Is that even a phrase? I'm running on like, I don't know how many hours of sleep. So yeah, Amtrak, pleasantly a surprise. Good seats, lots of luggage storage because Americans have a lot of stuff. So yeah, in the Northeast, I would recommend Amtrak. I haven't taken trains anywhere else in the US, and I would assume that they're not quite the same. Do you know how many other Americans you've educated on the idea of moving to the UK or elsewhere? I don't know how many, but my book, Girl Gone London, which is available on Amazon, which is my book about moving to the UK, does really well this time of year because people get it for people they know who are thinking about moving to the UK. But there's not that many other books like it on the market. And so one woman messaged me last year and she said she got 3 of my book from 3 different people in her family for Christmas because they all thought they had a great Christmas idea. And so had to apologize that she ended up with 3 copies. But I hope I'm continuing to educate people. Someone says, can you spot an English tourist in the UK, in America? Yes, I can. American visitors are usually easy to spot in the UK. Yes, they are. I can definitely usually pick out an English tourist in the US, particularly because there aren't that many of them right now. And actually, until November 8th, really there weren't that many because there was the US travel ban. My husband was able to come because he was the spouse of an American citizen. That's the only way that he got let in. But we've definitely come across a lot more in New York. But I wouldn't say that it's because an English tourist in America is obnoxious or anything. It's just they're easy, just like the mannerisms and how they're dressed and stuff is easy to spot. Let's see. Do you like British food? I like some British food. I like Yorkshire pudding. I like roast dinner. We did Thanksgiving here, my husband and I, but we did a fusion meal. So we had turkey, corn casserole, and mac and cheese for the American, and cornbread for the Americans, which was me. There was only 2 of us. And then we did like British style roast potatoes and bread sauce for a kind of fusion meal. I miss Cadbury's. Hershey's is not the same. What else do I miss? Fish and chips. Someone said, what's British food like in New York? We honestly don't usually try anything that claims to be like a British pub or even an Irish pub or get like British food in the US because it's always disappointing, almost always. But usually American food is disappointing in the UK because it's never the same. Like fish and chips here, you could try and do it's not the same. It's not going to be the same. And something like macaroni and cheese, which actually Scotland does macaroni and cheese really well, but I haven't really found what we would call mac and cheese, but what the English call macaroni cheese. I haven't found like really any good American style in England. Being nosy, you're always welcome to be nosy, all of you. Was it a successful business trip too? It has been, because I think, did I mention on here? I don't know. But I own an American travel site, which is completely separate to Girl Gone London. That's obviously about me and the UK. So we have done a lot of work for that site, and I will have a lot of articles to be posting when we get back. And it's also just been nice to do something different. We've been in places like we're fully vaccinated, going to get our boosters when we get back to the UK and are invited, and, doing the best we can, but it's been nice to live like a relatively normal life. I love cornbread. My friends in America sent me some. Why can't we find it in the UK? I don't know. Cornbread is just delicious. And sometimes you can get it with actual corn kernels, but mostly it's like a cornmeal kind of thing. You can make it in the UK. I think we have the ingredients, but it's just not something that we really eat in the UK. You mentioned you can spot English mannerisms. Have you adopted any yourself? I think I have. It's hard. It's easier to tell when I'm in the UK, because when I'm in America, I feel very American again. I definitely have adopted English, like quietness. I definitely am always like, shh, like we don't, like if we're on public transportation or on the subway and someone starts talking to me, I'm like, someone that I know, not like a crazy person. I'm just like very uncomfortable. I've adopted a lot of British words and phrases. Like bin for the trash can. It's like an effort for me to say trash can now, or garbage can. And just other like ways of phrasing things. So yeah, some, but I do kind of transition back and forth between my two selves. So when I am in America, people say that my American accent gets even more pronounced. And when I'm in the UK, it gets like dulled a little bit. Bread sauce is horrible. That is controversial. It's the potatoes that are wrong to make fish and chips. Interesting. And just also the way they typically do fish and chips in America, claiming to be authentic, is they actually do like fish goujons, which we would call like, well, we wouldn't call them fish sticks here, but we would call them, I don't know. We don't use the word goujon in the US, but if you're British, you know what I'm talking about. So that's like 3 like smaller pieces of fish, but fish and chips is like a big piece of fish, and the chips are usually different. The English swear more than Americans. True, as just part of typical speech. So if that's a question, yes, that's true. Americans, well, New Yorkers probably swear as much as English people, but most Americans don't. Is it jarring? It's jarring when you're new to the UK and you definitely feel like everybody's being like, I don't know if impolite is the right word, but definitely when you first move to the UK, it is jarring. Now that I'm used to it, I don't think much of it, but yeah, sometimes America just doesn't have that swearing sensibility. And it was actually interesting because when we went to Boston, we of course did the touristy stuff, went on like a Freedom Trail tour, talking all about why the Americans eventually decided to become Americans, basically because of the taxes on tea. So a very British reason to break off from Britain, because they didn't want to pay taxes on all the tea they were drinking. But we did learn about, and they do teach you this in American history classes in school, but the idea that America was really founded, especially in the Northeast, by the Puritans. And so there was this, like a lot of things I feel like that are part of day-to-day culture in America now really stem back to the founding, the whole like American work culture. And I want to do more educational videos on this rather than me rambling in my hotel room. But the Puritans' idea was that if you work hard enough, then you go to heaven. So hard work equals going to heaven. So of course you want to work as hard as possible in order to go to heaven. And honestly, American work culture to this day has lost the go to heaven aspect, but in general, it is seen as a favorable thing in the US to be a workaholic. Whereas in the UK, it's like cringy. Why are you working so hard? Take some time off, take some time for yourself. Whereas in the US, we are work, work, work. And some of that must stem from its founding. So we did the whole Freedom Trail tour, which was hilarious with my British husband, who by the end was like, I get it. No one taxes my tea. I will throw it in the harbor too. But it was just talking about why, how it all happened. It's a story and that I know very well from the American perspective, because that is what they teach us. No taxation without representation. You've got the colonies that aren't being represented, but yet they're paying the taxes because running colonies are expensive. So Boston is a really fascinating look at like how America came to be and really those like British roots. Have you mastered the British art of substituting innocuous words for the actual swear words? You guys, I'm so American. I don't really swear, so I don't substitute much of anything. So I'm boring in that way. I'm not British in that way whatsoever. David says, we in the UK prefer some annual leave and holiday. And thank God for that, David, because I could never, ever, ever work for a US company after having lived in the UK. So the only way that I could ever live in the US at this point is being self-employed. I couldn't go back to, like no guaranteed vacation time, but at most, like some people have like 2 weeks and they feel like that's good. I couldn't go back to that after experiencing the UK, and I wouldn't want to. But I'm self-employed now, thank goodness, which is why I've been able to be in America and not in the UK. So it's actually been 1 year for those of you who followed along with my How I Make Money Online video. It's been 1 year since I lost my job in the pandemic and have been officially self-employed. And I would just like to say, so far, it's been successful. Haven't had to borrow, beg, or steal. Have had to have some amazing experiences. So I'm really excited for what next year holds. It's such a relief to be able to spend this time in the US and get to see friends and family and just places that I haven't been before. I'd never been to California before this trip. I'd never been to Nevada. I'd only been to New York City for like 2 days. So this is it's really nice to get to explore the US in a way I haven't before. How do you find listening to all the different accents around the UK, and which one is the hardest to understand? Yeah, I mean, it's second nature to me now. Like it's funny because being surrounded by American accents is actually weird to me. So walking down the streets of New York and hearing American accents, I've been here since August. And when I'm talking with my friends and family, it's not weird. It's what I expect. But the people on the street being American is still very weird to me. So I'm very used to being surrounded by different accents, and I feel like I'm getting better. I should do a video, like a quiz on this. I feel like I'm getting better I can tell if it's like a northern accent, Midlands, south of England. So the English accents I'm getting better at. The most confusing accents for me are going to be Scottish, which I know a lot of Americans say, but particularly if they have a thick Scottish accent, it can be very difficult for my ears to figure out what in the world they're saying. I used to work for a food box company that a lot of you probably have heard of called Gusto. This was like way, way back in the startup days. And I was customer service person, and there were only 2 of us, I think. Again, startup days. So if you see like Gusto ads now where you get Gusto boxes, like I was part of the original like startup. But I would have to be on the phone with people from all around the UK. And genuinely, sometimes I would have to pass the phone off to my British coworker because I just like my ear, I could not make out what they were saying. And I felt really rude continually asking them to repeat themselves. And at a certain point, if I would just be like, you don't see their lips like when you're on the phone. And it was I would just have to be like, oh, hold 1 second and literally pass them off to my British coworker. Not so much today. Today I'm much better at it. This was years ago. I'm from Manchester, says Kieran. Can you understand mine? Yes, I can understand a Manchester accent. I feel like I can understand the vast majority of accents in the UK now. But yeah, it's been funny being in the US also, and we've experienced the Southern accent in Dallas. We've experienced like New York accents, Boston accents. So I hear my husband is coming back from his rounds, finding some breakfast in New York. So I'll give you a short to like a 5-minute warning because we have a whole day in New York planned. We're seeing the Rockettes today, which a lot of British people that I talk to haven't heard of. So comment if you have heard of the Rockettes and know what I'm doing today. But New York is very Christmassy right now. The Rockefeller Christmas tree was lit last night, so we're going to see that today, all lit up. We have gone so many different places. We were staying in Queens for a while. If you're familiar with New York, we've explored Brooklyn. We've been on Manhattan. We're going ice skating in Central Park. Yes, at Radio City, Andy, you know what I'm talking about. The Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall is it's the quintessential American way to celebrate Christmas. If you're not familiar, I don't know what to call them. They're called like precision dance. Like imagine a bunch of dancers in a line doing like the like kicking their legs up thing, but also doing other things in precision, mixed in with like a ton of holiday stuff. So the Rockettes at Radio City, we are on our way to do that today. And we're also going to a basketball game at Madison Square Garden tonight. The New York Knicks versus the Chicago Bulls. I don't know that much about sports, but Madison Square Garden basketball game is definitely something to do. We went to a hockey game in Boston. Boston people love hockey. I wish we had hockey, like ice hockey. I wish we had ice hockey in the UK, but I don't think we would because a lot of it is about like beating each other up, which is just, I feel like we've got I don't know.
There's one in Milton Keynes.
But like professional? Mm. My husband says there's a hockey team in Milton Keynes, but I've never heard of them. So no offense if you're on the ice hockey team in Milton Keynes, but I think we should make ice hockey more popular in the UK. Because it's pretty fun. It's very fast paced because the puck doesn't really go out of bounds. Andy says there is ice hockey in the north. Do like professional leagues? Do people play it professionally? I would like to go to an ice hockey game in the UK. Okay, so we'll just stay on for a couple minutes here. Yes, they're professional. Okay, we'll have to check out an ice hockey professional game in the UK. I've never seen them. Never heard of people playing it, but that's probably because I am in the South. So we'll have to venture out. Someone said hello to Mr. Gone London. That's your name. I love that.
America.
Do you know I get a lot of emails? Because when I sign up for things for my business, it will often have like my thing as Girl Gone London. So I get a lot of like emails where they just put in like your first name as hi girl. Fun fact. Okay. We do have ice hockey in the UK. My sport is football. Yes, football, not as popular in the US as in the UK. Bracknell Bees ice hockey. Really? I've lived in the UK for a long time and I've never met someone who played ice. I'm definitely going to check out ice hockey when we get back to the UK. Hello, Kalyn. Hello. Nice to see you. How's the grand tour of the US? Are you visiting all 50 states? We are not visiting all 50 states. Would love to, but we have visited California, Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Florida, Massachusetts, New York, and my husband will actually experience New Jersey while we're here. So a lot of states, but not all 50. Oh no. Oh, people are saying some of the hockey teams are gone. Durham City, Mellon Keynes, Manchester Storm. Okay. All right. We're going to do a whole video about why ice hockey. Oh, some UK. Okay. Didn't realize. See, this is the more you know. I feel like we should start one in the southeast of England. Why is there no London ice hockey team? Any more books coming out? I have thought about a sequel to Girl Gone London with a lot different topics than I wrote in the original ones. So we'll see. Ice hockey's played at Ali Pally in London? Are you serious? Why have I never seen any sort of games? Why are we not all into this? This is fascinating. But I also just can't picture British people playing ice hockey. But that's because I have the stereotype. I know rugby is not this way. I know rugby is very rough and tumble. But it just seems very aggressive. Okay. So I am going to have to leave you now because we, as I said, have a whole Christmassy day planned. I'm going to go research UK ice hockey and see how I can get involved as a fan, as a player, who knows. Thank you guys for logging on to this very random, unexpected, you didn't know about it live stream. I hope you're glad you came. And I will be posting more videos soon. We'll be doing more fun things. But I have a week here in the US that we're going to really enjoy and make the most of. So I will see you soon. Enjoy. I don't know, what day is it today? Thursday. Enjoy. Hope your weekends are starting early. Have a great weekend. What's the weather like where you are in the UK? Leave that down below as I head off. The weather here is good. My husband says. I haven't been outside. Okay. All right. See you guys later. Talk to you later. Have a great day. Thanks for joining and supporting the channel as always. Bye.
Good job.